We started off several weeks ago just with one poor little Gen 2 penguin washing up on Surf Bay, and we did test him as positive. We didn't worry too much about that, you know, one penguin on their own. He could have just been a guy that was carrying it from last season, we don't know. But unfortunately now we're having fairly significant Gen 2 penguin deaths on Lively Island and at Volunteers Point. So people will have noticed that we've said it's a level 2 or 2/3 response, and the levels are really just a guidance for us. So basically, all we really need to tell you is that a level 1 response is really quite low level. So that just means do good biosecurity. You can still get around as normal, watch out for dead birds. So most individual birds around Stanley, or just, you know, a few somewhere else, we'll say level 1, we don't need to do anything, just be aware and be careful. Level 3, on the other hand, probably means that we're going to make some movement restrictions or even close the area completely. Level 2, somewhere in between. And the levels will depend on how many birds, what type of birds, are they in a really heavily trafficked area, and so the levels can't really be cut and dried for every single case, but they're just a guidance. At Volunteers itself, Derek had already leapt into action and got fences up, and there's a really good and clear path for people to bypass the Gen 2s, visit the Kings first, and then have access to the beach. So that's probably more a level 2 response. We're saying you need to stay 10 metres away from the affected colony. You need to pay attention to the extra footbaths that Derek's put in place, but you can still visit the settlement at Volunteers at this time.
What do you think the department will be changing in terms of the response from last year?
So I don't think we'll change anything significantly at all. That was decided at the end of last season when we had the wash-up meeting, that the responses and things that we did would pretty much stay the same. We did note that we probably can be a little bit more pragmatic about the responses. So, for example, if this had happened this time last year, I probably would have closed Volunteers because I just didn't know what was going to happen.
Do you think there's anything that people could be doing to prepare for the potential?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biosecurity guidance was released in August, and that gives you really clear, sensible biosecurity recommendations that everybody should be doing now. If you have poultry at home, keep the contact with wild birds to a minimum, lock them away, cover the hen run over with a net if I was you, keep their food and water under a solid roof so that wild bird feces can't be dropped into it, things like that. Tour operators need to be thinking, if bird flu closes this island or this area, where am I going to be taking my tours? So I can't recommend enough that people are A, doing good biosecurity now, even if there's no bird flu in the area, and B, thinking ahead, okay, what will we do if there is a bird flu case in my colony? I was really worried last season that this year was going to be worse. I guess if this start is anything to go by, my prediction's coming true. So I do feel that we're in for a tough season. I'd be thrilled if I was proved wrong.